other Western partners.
Hello and welcome. We told you yesterday about Donald Trump's sweeping travel ban. Today we are tracking a visa firestorm that erupted in retaliation. We'll tell you about a country that has dared to respond. The Central African nation of Chad has suspended visas for US citizens. Chad's president, Mohamed Idris Deby, made the move public. In a sharp Facebook post, he said Chad would no longer issue visas to Americans. It wasn't out of anger, but the country's president said it was about pride. Trump's travel ban mostly targets African countries. 7 of the 12 counties on his list are from Africa, and the ban takes effect from Monday. Now, several other countries were also placed under heightened travel restrictions. Trump says that the countries were banned because they have what he thinks is deficient screening systems, and they refuse to take back their citizens who overstay visas in the United States of America. The White House says it is to protect national security. Critics are calling it a copy-paste of the travel ban, which he tried to enforce during his first term. But Chad's president isn't sitting back. If the US can ban his country, Chad can also ban Americans. In his statement, he wrote, Chad may not have planes to offer nor billions of dollars, but it has dignity and pride. And Chad is not alone in this fight. Republic of the Congo also criticized the ban, calling it a quote-unquote mistake. Their government believed that they have been wrongly linked to an armed incident in the US. Meanwhile, Sierra Leone is not on the complete ban list, but faces restrictions. Even so, its government struck a diplomatic tone, saying they'll work with the US authorities to address concerns. Earlier, Somalia also pledged to work with the US to address security issues. Now, what is clear is Trump's order singles out Africa, and there is a deep sense of unfairness that is being felt. The African Union said in a statement the ban would harm everything: people-to-people ties, educational exchange, commercial engagement, and diplomatic relations that took years to form. So Africa is pushing back. Chad's move to block US visas is the first retaliation, but will it be the last? Now, for more on this, we have with us on the show Beverly Achieng, a senior analyst at Control Risks, joining us live from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Alison.
Beverly, what does Chad's suspension of visas to US citizens signal about its broader diplomatic stance, especially in light of President Deby's emphasis on dignity and pride?
I mean, one of the things that it demonstrates is that Chad will continue to align its geopolitical priorities and diplomatic engagements in line with the quest to be accorded respect as a sovereign state. And Chad is willing to be just as transactional as the US has been in its increasing geopolitical engagements. Furthermore, unlike the African Union, which called for dialogue, Chad's measures are seen to be decisive, the same as those of the US. It's not the first time this has happened to Chad. It was part of a visa ban in 2017 under the first Trump administration. But under Mohamed Deby, Chad has become more explicit about spelling out respect for sovereignty, challenging security and diplomatic partners that the country or the government perceives to be threatening its own sovereign ambitions.
Yes. And how might Chad's response affect its bilateral relations with the US, especially in areas like military cooperation, counterterrorism, and development aid?
I mean, it will further strain relations with the US, but as things stand, US's direct military support in Chad reduced. Just before the presidential election in May last year, Chadian authorities asked American special forces to leave the country, and they haven't changed their stance since, despite there being talks between the US and Chad for the US troops to return. But Chad has also been seeking other partnerships in counterinsurgency. They have Hungarian forces who arrived in the country. They have received millions of dollars in budgetary and humanitarian aid support from the United Arab Emirates. Turkey also intends to take over a former French base in Abeche. So Chad is proactively seeking alternative partners for development, for military, and for aid as a way of sort of waning off the dependency or the need to necessarily be supported by the US or other Western partners.
Yes, and Beverly, given the contrasting responses from the Republic of Congo and Somalia, how do these divergent positions reflect the internal political or strategic priorities of African nations when faced with US policy decisions?
I suppose one of the expectations, Alison, is that African countries, especially with the African Union, should have a more consolidated response to uncertain geopolitical trends. But we do see that those divergent decisions also demonstrate that these countries have their own relationships with the US and with other partners. So we've seen, for instance, South Sudan almost being backed into a corner to accept irregular migrants irrespective of their citizenship in Africa. We've seen DRC leveraging its minerals for security, and it does demonstrate that some countries may want to protect their relationship with the US because they have assets, they have personnel, they have interests in the US, while other countries like Chad, for instance, are more open to having much more partnerships and defending their interests in a similar way as the West is now seen to be increasingly defending its own interests.
Yes. Beverly, it's always great to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Shifting focus now, Uganda says its troops have taken control of 2 towns in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo to prevent what it calls inter-ethnic fighting. The towns that are claimed to be under Ugandan control are Kasenyi and Chomia. Now, Ugandan army spokesperson posted a video on social media platform X to show the troops being welcomed in Kasenyi. Now, Uganda's Army Chief, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and son of the President Yoweri Museveni, also shared the video with the caption, "God's Army arrives in Kasenyi." Now, he warned that anyone who attacks innocent civilians in the area will be attacked by the Ugandan forces. Now, both Kasenyi and Chomia are in the DRC's eastern Ituri province near Lake Albert. Ugandan troops have been deployed in the area since 2021. They are working with the DRC government to target Islamist insurgents. The main target of Ugandan mission was to target the Allied Democratic Forces, or the ADF. It is an ISIS-linked rebel group accused of deadly attacks in both countries. But observers say that Uganda's role in eastern Congo has become far more complex over time. Ugandan forces have repeatedly claimed to take control of other towns beyond the ADF strongholds, including Bunia and Mahagi, often citing the need to curb ethnic violence between the local communities in the region. In addition, Uganda has faced accusations of secretly supporting the M23, a Rwanda-backed rebel group that has waged a deadly insurgency in the DRC's east. A July 2024 United Nations report said the Ugandan military provided logistical support to the M23 fighters and facilitated some of their operations in eastern Congo. Kampala strongly denied the charges. It insists that its presence in the DRC is legitimate and coordinated with Kinshasa. But analysts argue that Uganda's deployments are also motivated by economic interests. Eastern Congo is rich in gold, cobalt, and other critical minerals. Meanwhile, the area around Lake Albert, where Kasenyi and Chomia are located, is home to a massive oil project. Now, the project is developed by Uganda in partnership with Total Energies and China's offshore oil giant. So while Uganda insists its presence in Congo is to restore peace, its growing footprint, strategic locations, and alleged M23 links raise questions over whether security is the only motive. The eastern DR Congo remains a tinderbox, and Uganda is a key player in the power struggle that surrounds it. And let's take a look at Kenya, where a bombshell report by Swiss Aid has exposed some alarming issues in the country. The report claims that Kenya is a major smuggling hub for gold, and most of that gold never shows up on official records. The country's official records show just 672 kilos of gold exported in 2023. But according to the report, that number doesn't add up. It estimates over 2 tons of gold are actually smuggled out of the country annually. Now, we are talking about gold coming from places like South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and possibly war-torn Sudan. The report alleges they are slipped out through undeclared routes, totally off the books, and much of the gold is then sent to Dubai. And how does that work? Now, most of this gold doesn't show up in the customs list, but it does appear on the import lists. Now, the scheme is simple. Raw gold, often from conflict zones, is trafficked in Kenya. It's repackaged as local gold and then shipped out. And all of this is reportedly happening right under the nose of William Ruto's government. The report also says that Kenya's gold export numbers have outpaced its own domestic production for years. So where is the extra gold coming from? Neighboring countries in chaos. And there's a bigger problem. This trade is funding armed groups and criminal networks. It is fueling wars and destabilizing entire regions. In this alleged plot, Kenya isn't alone. Uganda and Rwanda also show huge gold export numbers, despite questions about where that gold comes from. And all 3 countries face accusations of exploiting mineral resources from the DRC. To fix this, Kenya is now forming a dedicated police unit to track illegal mineral trade, but there are fears that the damage already done is irreversible. For now, the spotlight is on Kenya, and if this report is anything to go by, that spotlight won't be fading anytime soon. And for our last story today, it is about a viral video, one that has got a lot of people talking. When you think of a head of state, what's the image that pops into your head? Probably a powerful figure, dressed in a sharp suit and tie. Most of us will think of a traditional look, one that is formal and polished and classic. But in Africa, this dress code for leaders is getting a makeover. Forget the old school suit and tie style. African leaders are going for a combat-ready look, one in military fatigues. And for accessories, how about a gun? Even during public appearances. Now take a look at this viral video. It features Botswana's President Duma Boko. He showed up in a full military outfit, reportedly during public appearances. It is his first time rocking this look since taking office in November last year, and it has definitely turned heads. The internet thinks that Boko's look is in fact inspired by another African leader. Enter Captain Ibrahim Traore, the junta leader of Burkina Faso. Only Traore took power in September of 2022 through a military coup, and since then he has become a charismatic symbol and a modern Pan-Africanist icon. The 37-year-old has emerged as a man on a mission to free his nation from what he calls Western imperialism and neo-colonialism. Traore is almost always in military gear. He is known for his serious face, often appearing in public with a stern expression. One of his most talked about moments is showing up to Ghana's presidential inauguration in January, wearing a holstered pistol on his waist. Yes, a pistol at a high security and high profile event. But Traore didn't just become a symbol of power. As now it appears, it is also a fashion statement and probably a trendsetter. Now netizens are calling it the Traore effect. It's the idea that Africa's strongman style is spreading across the continent. Even in Botswana, a democratic and one of Africa's most stable nations, the military vibe is reportedly making its mark. Traore has become a sensation, not just on African social media, but even Western media has taken notice. They call him a popular figure with a growing cult of personality. They are referring to him as someone who has captured hearts and minds around the world. The biggest trigger behind this craze is his bold anti-West stance. After taking power, Traore cut ties with France. He turned to Russia instead, and this includes allowing Russian paramilitary presence and launching leftist economic policies. He even set up a state-owned mining firm and demanded foreign companies hand over a bigger share. Then there are his speeches, which are often bold, fiery, and viral. At the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, Traore told African leaders to stop dancing when imperialists pull strings. That line spread like wildfire online and helped to cement his image as the no-nonsense Pan-African voice of a new era. So as Traore's popularity soars, his influence is growing too. Whether he is really behind Boko's new look or not, one thing is clear: the Traore effect is marching across Africa. And that's it on the show for today. We'll see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and goodbye.
A very warm welcome. I am Gushin Garland and you're watching First Post. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started.